Hey everybody. So I did in fact make it to Echo Camp, and I've got to say, I was smiling the entire drive down here, and the more and more I saw, the more I completely forgot about the any kind of troubles that I've been experiencing. And I don't say that lightly. What I mean is, like, I found myself even becoming disoriented, where I wasn't really tracking the road as much. I mean, I was obviously keeping on the road, but I didn't pay attention, for an example, to the park signs. I was really just kind of enraptured by the nature around me. In fact, you can see me, I'm looking at the river ahead of me. I'm the first person down here again, even though it's well after daybreak. It's about probably 7:30 in the morning. And as I walked into this area, I disturbed a great blue heron, and that heron flew off, and I was a little bit disappointed because I brought this camera on my, like I said, the final trip that this camera is going to make with me, I believe. And I was a little bit disappointed because that heron flew off and I wouldn't be able to photograph it. But as I sat here after walking along the river to see if there was anything on the riverbanks that was different from yesterday, I found that a great blue heron would fly directly in front of me over the river. Kind of off in that direction, off to my right. And that was pretty priceless because since I had this camera here, I was able to get at least two shots that were relatively clear. I brought it because over here on this low lying trees, not sure if I lined it up because I'm looking at the screen now, and when I was facing the phone that way, I have no idea what you're seeing. But as I was looking at the surroundings, that low-lying, almost dead-looking branch that was hanging down, a lot of birds would land on it, or at least one particular kind of bird would land on it and then dip down into the water to fish. So anyway, I've got quite the spectacular view. As I said, I woke up a heron today. I sat here yesterday for almost the entire day, and there was only a couple of points where I left this area to get into the car because I was going to have my snack for the day. I might as well call it a snack. I don't have a lot of food, and I'm here for 5 more nights. I definitely don't have the ideal amount of food for 5 days. If you're wanting to have food for 5 days, I have just barely enough water to get by for that same amount of time that I brought with me. And what I'm going to do is try to make it all last until that point in time, or go without. And yesterday evening, the whole point is that I'm paying more attention to the surroundings here, and so I might or might not remember to eat. It's not a big deal. I'll still feel hungry like anyone would if they haven't eaten, but I just have to remind myself who's in control, and that some of these are comfort-based conveniences, especially in an area where, like I was trying to say yesterday, I stepped out of this area and into my vehicle to have my snack, and then when I stepped out, I was greeted by I wouldn't say greeted by, I already had checked the surroundings to make sure I was going to step in a safe area. The only part I can't really see is under my car, so I try to step outside a little bit further than normal and quieter, particularly on the first step, so I don't disturb something into action. And sure enough, the same sentiment that I had that I was stepping out of the Jeep with is what met me right outside of the door range of my Jeep. There was a bush off to the left of the vehicle on the driver's side, and as I stepped out, the bush gave me a gentle warning. It was basically a rattling noise, and I looked, and the only thing I could see that looked unusual, although it looked the same exact color as the bush in whose leaves it was in, it was like I don't know how to describe it. The plant has long, spiny reeds, kind of like if you were looking at a porcupine, it has long, spiny reeds, but the ones on the bottom were kind of dried and but not just gray like this, they had black, like decay or something. And the one item that seemed to not fit in was a little bit darker, had a little bit more of a pronounced pattern, but my mind couldn't process what I was seeing because basically, like I say, I just stepped out, something was rattling, and I was trying to see what I was sure was there, but I'd never seen this type of rattlesnake before. It was very dark. It was about the width of a pencil, and as I looked a little bit further and perhaps shuffled my foot to see if I could cause this thing to repeat itself so I could really see it, this thing just raced off. I mean, at full speed. It was unbelievable. Check this out. I don't know if you could see that. There's a honeybee that's flying around checking out the other side of my phone. Anyway, the rattlesnake that shot off from my direction, it moved so fast I thought it was a coach whip from the Sonoran Desert. It was so fast. And yet it rattled at me, and I saw this dark pattern on it that I've never seen before. So I'll have to do a little bit of research and find out what type of dark rattlesnakes they have out here that are particularly thin. Um, where am I? Well, I think I've already told you where I'm at. The campsite name, I would bet that it's got to be famous enough that it's well known. When I said the campsite name, um, probably said the name of the place that I was in one of the other segments. You'll have to backtrack. I don't want to keep revealing all these places that I go to. Like I said in my final Big Bend video, there's just some places I probably don't want to show anyone because it takes a certain amount of respect and gratitude and a sense of awe and wonder to really appreciate these spaces. Appreciate them enough to where you don't find band-aids all over the shore, plastic bottle caps everywhere, and all of the things that come with wasteful, poor decisions. Poor decisions is probably the best way to put it. The more that we invest in poverty and a poverty mindset in terms of the ability to discard even one another, the more that we're going to end up with quite a mess to clean up, and we already have a daunting, overwhelming mess to clean up. So if you're wondering where that part is of the segment that turns to wellness and conservation, well, here it is. So I'm talking with you again just briefly. I wanted to let you know I'm sitting out here by the calm water, enjoying the day. I've got my towel, which is covering my legs from any kind of weird biting insects that might want to come and sneak attack my legs. My arms are exposed right now, and so as the day warms up, I'll have to be fending the insects off with, with my flailing gestures that hopefully won't disturb something at just the right moment when I should have been bringing a picture to you from nature. So during this time that I've been talking, I've heard birds all around me. I haven't seen many birds fly by. Yesterday, I didn't see anything like what I just saw with the heron flying by, and I'm glad I came out here a little bit earlier than yesterday in the morning. Throughout the day, I expect there to be people swimming in the river, a little bit more noise, and in this particular spot, I'll enjoy shade all day long. The only thing I'm lacking is an abundance of overwhelming amount of snacks, but I'm not here to snack. I'm here to enjoy nature, and perhaps I'm also here to collect all the rubbish that's been left by the people who are snacking all day long. I've found quite a bit of plastic bottle tops, definitely found a Band-Aid, at least one so far, and hair bands, a number of things are out here. But what's not out here, what's really compelling to me, is that I haven't seen a lot of fish splashing on the surface of this river, and I have not seen any birds of prey in this park, well, in this campground since I've been here. I heard what I believe was a hawk earlier, and I did see some ravens. I don't know if they're considered birds of prey. I believe they're more opportunistic than predatory, and at the same time, I'm a little bit interested in what kind of wildlife most people would have seen here five years ago, on a day like, well, during a week like this week, which is just gorgeous. So I hope you enjoyed this segment, telling you, confirming some of what you already suspected, which was that I was gonna, of course, make it to this place. There's no doubt that I would be able to make it to this place. What's very interesting, though, is the campground I got. In one of my other segments, you heard me saying that people were racing off, passing all the things to see, and I wasn't concerned with what site I would get. I ended up with a campsite number that is basically directly on the path to where I'm sitting right here, right now. It's extremely isolated. It's got an abundance of shade. Even my vehicle is shaded right now, and it'll be shaded throughout the entire day. How blessed and how fortunate am I? I really, I can't, I can't even begin to express how grateful I am for this particular situation, that I didn't have to race off to. I didn't have to encounter with fear, and I'm not worried about what I have or don't have. We'll notice something as time goes by, which is that even if I run out of food or water, there will be an opportunity to have that which I am missing at the time. And one other kind of final note is that a lot of this food I wouldn't have if it weren't for the convenience aspects of plastic and one-time use. Just to explain, because I was left with all of this water from the guests that I had, bottled water. I have 2 bottled waters per day to last for the days that I'm going to be here, except for the final day, which is the day that I'll be driving out anyway. And even then, I have 1 extra ration to buffer me between here and the drive back to the road, which is not really all that big of a deal. And I have a backpack full of water if I really needed to tap into the reserves. But the whole point is, I have muffins that were prepackaged whose blueberries will never decay. I'll be able to open the muffin a month from now if I wanted to. But I also still have real blueberries, and I have enough blueberries for maybe 3 more days, possibly 2. Depends on how hungry I get or how hydrated or dehydrated I feel. And some kind of a bag of an airline snack, and 1 muffin, like I said, a blueberry muffin, and that may be it. No, actually, I have a container of mixed nuts too. So I have a decent amount of food for maybe a day of heavy snacking, but I'm going to try to make it last the entire time, or I'll just eat when I'm hungry, and then when something is needed, I can tell you the story about how it just showed up in my lap practically. So that's what a lot of people will talk about when they talk about accepting the law of attraction, taking that leap of faith from the ledge, and waiting for that golden parachute to catch you. Steve Harvey, I believe, said it once. So many different actors and presences have mentioned the same thing, but basically you have to take a leap of faith, and in order to take that leap of faith, you have to really understand that you're on your own and not rely on anybody. And I've had a lot of people tell me that, don't rely on anyone else to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. And I got to say, take your own advice. I even had one person one time tell me that while I was helping someone to address their house and get it in order, they were telling me I needed to get my own house in order. Well, yeah, I mean, we all do, right? So take your own advice. When you have your things in order, when the rain washes you clean, you'll know, like Stevie Nicks said. So I'm going to stop gabbing here for a while, and I'm going to start photographing, and or at least I'm going to just enjoy the rest of the day. The sun is starting to show up on the canyon walls. And what more can I say? This place is fantastic. I can't imagine not having come here. This is so beautiful and relaxing. And if I haven't already, I'm going to show you a before picture of my blood pressure and an after picture of my blood pressure after just one day, one night of being here. And I can only imagine what's going to happen after a few more days of this pure relaxation. So generally what I do is turn off my phone, even though it doesn't even have a signal here, but I turn it off so that the battery can last long enough for when I do decide to take a series of pictures or make videos. And otherwise, I didn't even have my camera with me yesterday. I was just sitting here enjoying the whole day. And I believe that's the most restorative thing that I've done in a long time. For any of you who are trying to relax and don't know about moderation, moderation sometimes can be induced by entertainment of different sorts. If you come out into a place where you're entertained or at least on alert enough to know that when you step out of your car there may be a rattlesnake, as you focus, sometimes known as meditation, as you focus with an extreme level of clarity, as you focus and think about thoughts of peace, sometimes known as prayer, as you absolutely train your thought on what it is you're in the presence of so that you don't have all these errant thoughts where you misread the sign that says where your trail is, then you begin to notice an extreme sensation of peace and an overwhelming expulsion of frustration. And it happens so suddenly that what can you do but smile, except for think, man, if so-and-so were here right now, they sure would get a kick out of this. That's true. Everyone's on their own journey, and for those who are afraid to go it alone, I'd like to say, take that leap of faith. Think about the golden parachute that I talk about how all those things showed up, for an example, during the eclipse, during the great solar eclipse of, I believe, 2017. Think about what I told you when I ran out of food and food showed up, and when the persons who didn't have drinks but had food commented on drinks not being there, suddenly someone else showed up with drinks. All these are true stories, and some of you were a part of these stories. You were there when it happened, and take your own advice. That's really all I got to say. That voice, that little voice in your mind, is your conscience, and it tells you what's good for your soul. This is good for my soul. It's good probably for everyone's soul, particularly those who are anxious. So again, I'll try to show you a lot of clips from this place so that you can relieve your anxiety virtually. And I'll suggest that if you get the opportunity to come into these transformative spaces, don't bring all of the stuff that you normally would bring. Try to bring something that honors Mother Nature and doesn't leave rubbish on the ground here for your other fellow members of nature to see, choke on, and become ill over. Try to bring things that help bring health to one another again. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for commenting. Have you ever been to this place? And that's about it. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff.